I'm a financial advisor and certified financial planner, and I genuinely don't think you need the services of someone like myself just yet. I know that sounds odd coming from someone in my position, but what I want to do in these next few minutes is show you what to do before you need an advisor. How to build your wealth to the point where working with a professional actually moves the needle and paying the fees actually makes sense. For most of you watching this, the math just doesn't quite work in your favor yet, and I'd rather tell you than waste your time. And look, if I wasn't an advisor myself, I'm in the same boat as well. The math just doesn't math quite yet for me. But before it makes sense to work with an advisor at all, it's important about building a financial foundation. I've got a couple videos on this already, but no advisor, no matter how good, can save you from bad habits. If your cash flow is a mess and you're not consistently investing, a financial plan is just a document that you're paying fees to someone just to ignore at the end of the day. So before we hop into when it does make sense, let's run through just 3 short little habits that'll help get you to a place where it does make sense to work with a professional. The first one, you've probably heard of it before, but it's investing consistently, the same amount, the same schedule, every single month, regardless of what the market is doing. Again, most of you are likely already familiar with this concept called dollar cost averaging. It's not flashy at all, but the beauty of it is that it removes the temptation to time the market. You're buying more shares when prices are low and fewer when they're high, but over time, that smooths out your average share cost and keeps emotion out of the equation. Second one that I want to call out is lifestyle creep. Lifestyle creep is the quiet killer of wealth building at every stage of life. I've watched clients come in with an annual income of over 400 grand just to come to me and say they feel that their cash flow is tight each month. They upgrade their vehicles, their housing situation, they go out more, and their balance sheet stays the exact same. They get a raise, but somehow 3 months later, they're not saving any more than they were before, and they're not building wealth. The goal is not to deprive yourself, but the goal is just intentionality around spending. Know what you spend, track it, and when you do spend big, do it on something meaningful. If your income goes up, your saving rate should go up before your lifestyle does. The last little habit that I want to talk about is just leaving your investments alone. We talked about it a little bit in the dollar cost averaging section, but it sounds obvious, but quite frankly, it's the hardest one in practice. The market drops and your account is down, and every instinct inside of you is screaming, saying just to do something, but the right answer is almost always just to sit on your hands. The only time that you get hurt on a roller coaster is when you try and jump off in the middle of it. And you've probably heard this phrase many times before, but time in the market beats timing the market. When you try and time the market, you've got to get it right twice. Once when you sell, and again when you buy back in. Your job ultimately is just to stay invested and let compounding do what it does. So, we've talked about the simple steps that you need to take before you seek out an advisor, but what do you invest in until it's time to work with an advisor? Here's the thing that a lot of personal finance content gets wrong. You do not need to get cute with this at all at your stage. There's no need to be picking individual stocks, rotating sectors, or doing anything sophisticated. All you need is a simple, diversified portfolio, and then you need to leave it alone outside of just periodic rebalancing. Diversified just means that your money isn't running on one company, sector, or country. You're spread across hundreds and sometimes even thousands of stocks through low cost index funds or ETFs. I actually put together a full breakdown of exactly how I'm investing right now as a 25-year-old financial planner. It goes deep into the specifics on funds, my allocation, and the reasoning behind it. If you want to see what this all looks like in practice, check it out. The link is in the description below. So, when does it make sense to seek out the services of a financial professional? There's no universal hard and fast rule, but here are the basics of what I typically tell people who ask. The first goal is just around $100,000 in investable assets. This is an approximate figure and not a hard cap rule. By investable assets, I mean liquid dollars that are already invested or in cash on the sideline, and not dollars tied up in something like a car or a home. Around that $100,000 mark is typically where the complexity begins to justify the cost. Tax strategy, systematic rebalancing, and holistic planning start to matter far more at this level. To be quite honest, below that level, the fees that you're often paying outweigh the value that you receive. Another time that would make sense is a large windfall, an inheritance, a life insurance payout, or a large liquidity event. Windfalls where an individual receives a large sum of money unexpectedly, regardless of the value amount, are emotionally charged and can be financially complex all at the same time. At times, the tax implications alone can be significant, And the decisions you make in the first few months often have long term consequences. And that's exactly when a second set of expert eyes is worth it, and a non biased fiduciary third party can be an extremely valuable resource. And the last one that I want to throw out is complex employer compensation. We're talking stock options, deferred compensations, RSUs, and high self employment income. If your compensation goes beyond a salary and a 401k, things can get a little bit complicated pretty quickly, and mistakes in these areas tend to be super expensive on the tax side. Mishandling the timing on your options or deferred compensation, and you can be looking at a major unnecessary tax bill. Think of these three examples as guidelines or trail posts, not barriers. My point in this video is to help you save money on fees when it isn't necessary and point out when having a trusted advisor makes the most sense. Now, I want to be super honest about the financial advisory industry. There are some advisors out there that absolutely suck. There have been times that I've been reviewing a potential client's portfolio that has been assembled by another advisor, and I get pissed off, and it makes me furious to see the greed and fee laden strategies that are neither appropriate or affordable for the client. It drives me up the wall. My goal as an advisor is to try and right the wrongs done by negligent industry peers because everyone at any level of wealth, regardless, deserves sound advice and sound service. A good advisor does holistic, integrated planning. That means not just your portfolio and investments, but also your taxes, your insurance, your estate plan, and most importantly, your goals are all connected and working together. It's not multiple different conversations, it's a symphony that a responsible advisor makes into one holistic concert. And here's the thing that some people don't realize: advisors have institutional grade technology that retail investors, unfortunately, simply just don't have access to. I want to give you an example. One that I use with a lot of clients is direct indexing. Instead of buying an index fund that tracks, say, the S&P 500, direct indexing means that you actually own each individual stock within that index. So why does it matter? It allows your advisor to do something called tax loss harvesting at a granular level at lightning speed. You're selling individual positions that are down to offset gains that are up elsewhere in your portfolio while keeping your overall market exposure essentially the same while keeping up with the rapid pace of the market. And I know it sounds like a lot, and that's because it is. At a high enough level of wealth, this is the kind of tax sensitive management that can save thousands of dollars a year, both in taxes owed and in portfolio growth that would have otherwise been lost out on. It's the kind of thing that technically it's possible to do yourself if you want to spend every waking hour of the day doing it, but in reality, impossible without the right tools. And this is just one example. There are many different tools that I and other advisors use on a daily basis that allow us to give our clients the best possible outcomes and service in the market. And when you get to the point where you're ready to work with a professional, here's how I'd approach it. Shop around. You don't have to use the person that your parents or friend uses. You don't have to work with the first advisor that you meet with. You don't have to meet with that guy that just decided to become an advisor in high school. I mean, you can, but interview a few. Shop around. I believe that your relationship with your advisor is too important to settle for whoever happened to be convenient. And when you're looking for someone and shopping around, you want to find someone who's certified in the content matter. I'm a certified financial planner, which is the gold standard for financial planning. A certified public accountant brings deep tax expertise. An advisor who holds both or works closely with someone who does is going to give you way more integrated advice than someone who specializes only in one lane. I totally recommend you look for the marks. And again, going back to that relationship piece, I'd argue that it's the most important part overall. Pick someone you like, because the most qualified advisor in the world is useless if you don't trust them enough to follow their advice. Trust is the key mechanism here. When your advisor tells you to hold steady during a market correction, you need to believe them. When they recommend a change to your portfolio or your tax strategy, you need to feel confident enough to act on it. And that comes from the relationship, not just the credentials. The pretty good advisor you actually listen to will outperform the technical superior one you quietly ignore every single time. Now, I said at the beginning of our time together that I don't think you need a financial advisor yet. I want you to save money on fees before it makes sense. But all that being said, I started this channel to help others before they get to that next step. If you want free, pro bono advice from a certified financial planner, I'd love to welcome you to join my Discord. You can find the link in the description, and there you can ask any question you have, and I'd love to help you free of charge in any way that I can. The habits that we talked about today are far from being complicated. They're all about consistency, which over time is what gets you to the point where the more sophisticated tools and knowledge start to matter. If this video is something you enjoyed, please feel free to like and subscribe. And again, link to our Discord is in the description. As always, it's been Q Hall, and until next time, enjoy the fog.